Hi, welcome once again to Simple Groundwork and Diorama Techniques with me, your host and instructor, Bill Grigg. My faithful cameraman Dave is back behind the lens there.
Hey there.
Hi David, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. How about yourself there, Bill?
Good, good, good. Dave and I had done 9 episodes and we thought that this was going to pretty much be the 9 episodes that we were going to do. And we never thought we were going to do it. That's why I hit that last one with the airbrush when I said, thanks a lot, folks. I hope you learned something. Goodbye. But we're back. We're back with a vengeance. We're going to keep this series going and see if we can get you guys to think a little bit more in the realms of diorama techniques, because the show basically is centered around me painting and painting items. I don't want to show you so much how to build things as I do want to show you how to paint things. And the reason I started off with these 2 particular pieces here is I want to talk about, I don't know what the word is, like continuity in the diorama, or the way people view a diorama if you were to go, and I happen to compete a lot in contests. So here's the deal with presentation of a piece. First of all, you want your overall presentation to be absolutely flawless. I just recently, I don't want to pick on anybody, but I'm going to pick on people because that's how you learn. There was a gentleman recently that I had gone to a contest, and he had done this extensive building of a particular structure. But unfortunately, he put it on a piece of cardboard from a box. Now, in the long run, that would be all right if the cardboard corner had not taken itself and curled up. It was also put on a square frame of wood that was not painted, not sanded, not anything. It was just bare, raw wood. So unfortunately, the months and months and months that this person must have spent on this particular piece all fell apart right there. It wasn't even cut square. The cardboard edge actually did a little jiggy dance. It was too bad, because it's a good piece. It was a great piece. It was a really good piece. So come down here, Dave. And let's start off with this Russian sniper guy. Now, as you can see, I've chosen a light base on this. This is probably a 2nd place or a 3rd place trophy base, but it does work. It complements the color of the wood here, complements everything around it. It's the same as if you come over here, Dave, on this piece too. It's the same thing. Really nice looking base, complements everything. Now let's talk about how you visually view these things. With the snipers, and you can come back over to the snipers, Dave. Oh, this poor dead guy here. Now, as you view this, as you stand, this is your viewing area here. You come in, the sniper is the direct, the poor victim is the direct draw to the piece. Because he's laying down, it doesn't require, let's say, like the backing up of something. In other words, if I put a wall up in here or something like that, that wall visually blocks you, and you can see that here. This is a great example. The viewer, his eye comes in, he comes up the stairs, he hits the piece, he goes under the stairs, everything's blocked because there's walls here. It visually stops you. That is a good thing, because it centers your eyes on the subject. Whereas here, you don't have to come over there, I'll come over to you. As here, the main draw is the sniper. There's a little wall, there's a little bit here, but basically because of where the figure is positioned, that stops your visual wandering of going through and continuing on. What's back here? What's back here is what people are saying. Now, as what I just said, the poor man laying down, that was a center focus, so your eye didn't have a tendency to travel. Now, here's a completely different situation. I've actually taken you, and as the viewer, you come into this wall, everything stops. Boom. You're forced now to come up over the wall and look at the piece. So actually, this piece is this is the way I built it to be displayed, but actually in the long run, it would be better off if I took this piece and turned it so the eye now comes down the street and looks at everything. See how that works? If it was up, if you wanted to display it at a contest and put it up, that might work better, but that would just look dopey, so you wouldn't want to do that.
Very dopey.
Yeah, that would just be like, what's he doing? Everybody's on tilt. That's because of the earthquake and the earth shifted. So, yeah, it must be San Francisco. So, what I'm saying is now if you did it this way, the ATST blocks your view. You never go further. So what I'm talking about is getting the viewer to visually come into the piece and continue through the entire piece. And you can see how that would work with this particular piece if it was displayed this way. But that's not the way I built it. I did build it this way. And that's before I knew all these rules and things. They're actually not rules, they're just suggestions. Again, notice the total presentation of the piece. I am now getting a lot more coordinated with my colors of the base of my diorama here. It's the base. You want things to look nice. I know a lot of people, they go in and they build in picture frames. Now that's all well and good, but I've seen a lot of people that they put the picture frame in, and where they've mitered the two sides, the miter joint is off. Well, as soon as that miter joint is off, people go to the negative. I see it as I judge contests. They don't go in and say, oh, he did a good decal, or he did a good canopy, or he did, look at his seams are nice. The first thing that the judges go in and do is find the negative, and that's, we are that way. We like to point out the negatives of things. So again, I did a flex stone base here with some paint, and it's gray. It reflects into the grays of the whole piece. In other words, the grays in the here, gray goes with black, gray goes with the dark gray of this piece, and it's just a much, much, much better presentation. And again, talking about total presentation. Now this is going to take another piece on top of it. This is going to take this Japanese Frank. You don't have to come over here, Dave. I'll come over here. This aircraft is going to be displayed out here. Now again, visually you come in, you hit the aircraft, that's all good. You bring it through and the wall stops you. That's the visualization. But I did this again before I started thinking about total presentation. Now, this is not a big deal, but I think it is now. Come down, Dave, come down to this edge right here, right along the front. Now you noticed I chose a turquoise colored flex stone for this. I wish I had not done this. My idea behind this was I was thinking tropical, you know, tropical, the islands, swaying palm trees, the ocean, the beauty of the dark blue sea out there. But I would have been better here if I had taken this and done this in maybe browns to come up now into the browns of all the base. I mean, of all the groundwork here. And there's a lot of browns throughout my buildings. You can see come into the building, Dave. Come right onto this building here.
This one?
Yep, come right on this one and just pan around this building here. And you can see again, it's in browns. My aircraft is in browns. So I would have been much better off not using the turquoise and trying to get that tropical feel to everything. I would have been much better off to take this and do this in a brown colored flex stone rather than that turquoise. But I'm so far into this piece, to change that now would be disastrous. I don't know if you folks have ever used flex stone, but when you shake up a flex stone rattle can and spray it, it goes everywhere. And it would just be disastrous. So I'm stuck with this, and I'm not that I'm not happy with this, but for total presentation for the viewer, it would have been much better if I had done my side pieces here in a brown. Now here's a good example of everything working together. I did it on a simple base, a simple piece of wood. I think this is probably a picture frame because of the way it's cut. But this works. This works. Even though there's a lot of greens in this piece and grays in this piece, the brown just complements the whole piece. It's not that clashing. Like I really think that Pacific piece clashes a little bit, but that's the way that's going to be. But just get the picture, I guess, Dave. Just get a picture of just come in and go up and pan around, and you can see how that whole thing just ties together and works. The color of the bottom is good. The corners, come right over here, Dave. Come right on this piece right in there. And tell me when you got that. You can see there's no seam line, there's no separation, there's no nothing there. Let's go to the other side, Dave. Come right over to the other corner. Same thing. No separation, no seam line, no nothing. Nothing to take the viewer and distract them from your intended subject, which of course is the piece itself. So this is what I'm talking about, total presentation of a piece. You want everything, especially if you're competing. This is really, really important if you're competing. Even though you're not judged in these areas, and even though they don't, human nature takes in everything that it sees. It's just the way we are built, the way we're built as humans. So therefore, make everything pleasing to the eye as the viewer or the judge looks at it. That's where you want to be. Let's shift gears a little bit now and talk about decals. Now, I did do decals in a previous segment, but since then I've come up with a much, much better way to ensure that your decal is actually going to go on. And as you can see over the years, you want to come back into the box, Dave? Come on back down into the box. As you can see over the years, I have just accumulated just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of decals. This is all decals. There's boxes over here with decals. There's stacks of decals. It's just, actually, let's show you the sickness. I'll show you the sickness, folks. Believe it or not, these are all decal sheets. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of decal sheets. Why do I have so many decals? Well, I don't like to build what they give you in the box. And if you go in these aftermarket companies, you can get some pretty interesting things. They're all high quality. Most decals nowadays are not like the old days of, I don't know if you folks remember this, but you remember the old days of when they said the milky white backing will go away. Well, the milky white backing does go away, but in 10 years it turns yellow. So those were just horrible decals. But anyhow, let me show you my new approach to decals. And folks, when I tell you this, it's going to make a lot of sense. You start decaling this way. I'm yelling at people now. I'm saying, hey, listen, what I told you before was good, but I've got a better way to do this now. So we choose our subject, and we'll say, I'm going to grab this. We cut it out. Now, in the old days, when you cut this decal out, you actually had to cut it right out close to the image because there was so much carrier film around it. Now, what the carrier film is that clear solution they put on the decal so the decal will slide off and they can print on top of it. But nowadays, with modern technology, there's no need to cut your decal close anymore because they do that as they lay down the carrier film. They lay it down just a micron bigger than the image itself. Now, back in the old days, we would take this decal and we would, let's say this is full of water, we would take it, we would immerse the whole piece into the water. I've changed my thinking about this. I don't like this any longer. So what I'm going to do, and you can come right down here, Dave, right on the tabletop with me, follow the decal right on down. I have a spray bottle. You might want to widen this shot up too a little bit if you want. Take a spray bottle. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to film this or not, Dave. I don't know, maybe I can rotate the mirror surface and stuff. What I want is I want them to see this color stain on top of this mirror. Okay. Have you got it? Can you get that, or is that not going to film if I...
Tip it more toward you.
More towards me?
Got it.
Right there?
Good. Okay, because you're out of direct line of sight.
Now you can see this.
Yes.
You can see that stain right there.
Yes, I can.
Now, what I do with this mirror is, it's a non-absorbent surface. That's very important to put your decal on first. But now, this is a glue pool. I call it my cooking pool. But this is all decal adhesive on this. Why doesn't he clean off his mirror? I want the decal adhesive there. I always want it to be there. Now, instead of dipping, and let's come right down here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I think I have to do this flat, Dave, because the water's going to run off or not. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to take and just put a little bit of water out in the mirror. Can you get the water on the mirror?
Got it. Just
a little bit. You see that, folks? Just a little bit. Now, bear with me. This might, you might have to go and make a sandwich or something. Take a nap. Because it takes a while. But what we're doing is we do not want to wick any of this adhesive away. We want the adhesive to stay in one spot. So instead of dipping, what I do now is I drop the decal on top and I let the water now absorb through the backing paper up to the image itself. And like I say, Go watch Jeopardy.
Or try to do a shuttle.
Or decal, yeah, cut your decals into billions and billions of pieces for your shuttle. That was amazing. That shuttle show was a good show, Dave. That was a good show. All right, so what I'm going to do is I've taken and we'll put this right up against my natural backing. I've taken a flat brush. You got the tip of the brush? And you can zoom in on it and tell me when you got it.
Got it.
Got it? Okay, I'm taking a flat brush. Let's follow it down to the tabletop. And notice that it's kind of supple. See it? Unlike those brushes that I use to take and poke in my diorama pieces and stuff, this is not. This is more flexible. Okay, come over to the decal, Dave.
Got it.
Got it? Okay, now what we're going to do, we want to test to see if the decal is going to start to slide. Now again, there is no water on top of this decal. We push it, see it's sliding nice. Very, very nice. Now, you can do one of two things. Because there's so much adhesive here, we could actually take, now, this is a finished, we're going to say this is a finished piece. It's gloss, it's painted, it's highlighted, it's stained, it's gloss coated. The gloss coat is on your model. It has to go on a glossy surface. If you paint in flat paints, it will not stick. Flat paints, as you paint a flat paint, it's got little tiny pits in it. Little teeny tiny pits. Well, those little teeny tiny, I don't care if they're a micron in size, that's an air space. You need to get the air out from under decal because still, come on down here, Dave. Here we still have carrier film that runs through the image in certain spots. And I notice this is a lot. This must be an older decal. There's a lot of carrier film here. That's what silvers on you if you have air under your decal. So I can do one of two things. I could actually take, because there's so much adhesive here on this mirror, I could take the adhesive off the mirror, come up and wet my piece here. That will give me some adhesion there. Or there is another product, and we'll call it, just for sake of right now teaching, the red and the blue. The blue you put on the same manner as I just did this, and it's a wetting agent that allows me now, when I take my decal and transfer it to my piece, to be able to push it all over the place and get it where I want it to set. But you don't really need this if you have a good cook pool here with a lot of adhesive in it. Now what do I do for the decal? I would set this down, grab my decal. Notice I'm not touching it. I don't touch it. I bring it over to the piece, hold it in place, take my paintbrush, and slide it onto the model itself. I got to lay that down. Boom, out. Okay? Now, I've done nothing to wick away any adhesive. There's total adhesive on the back of the decal now. That's very important. That's very, very important. Now, once the decal is on, okay, we want it, we'll take it, and we're going to put it into position. Let's do this correctly. Folks, do as I tell you, do not do as I do. If I say something and I tell you to do it that way, because I'll tell you the right way, but I may not personally do it the right way. Not how I do things. Do as I say, not as I do. So now we'll take this. You notice I turned the brush around, but that's all right because it's got a round edge on it. And I can pull this around. And we'll say that's where I want my piece. That looks good. I look at the model. Oh, that's all scented up. Boom, 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 boom. This is extremely important also as you decal. Take an absorbent something like a cloth, piece of paper, shop towel, anything that's absorbent. I use a chamois quite a bit, but I don't know what my chamois is right now. And this is real important. You must get on top of this decal and blot the decal. What I'm doing here by blotting is I'm forcing all the air out from under the piece. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change this position so I can show you something even better. Because I've come up with a much better way to do this, decals. Let's put it right over. Dave, get in tight on this wing right down here. And notice, get the flap area and that little actuator arm and things like that. You got that? We're going to put the decal over this instead of on a hardcore flat surface. This is some bump and stuff. Because this is how I've changed now. So it's on, and again, I would blot. Let's get this dry. I would blot this. And listen, folks, I'm pushing this. This is not something that I'm just going in I'm pushing this fairly hard. Don't push so hard that you break your plane like I did with a privateer. I pushed the whole side of the privateer right in. That was bad. That was actually, though, putting a piece on, not decaling. Okay, that is on. Now, you want to let this dry to the look. Does that make sense? Visually, you want to look at this and it makes sense to you. Is it drying? Yes, it is. Now, there's two setting solutions. This particular bottle right here, and tell me when you got that. Got it? This particular bottle right here, this setting solution is extremely aggressive. It's really, really strong. Whereas, come on down over here, Dave, to the red and the blue. These are less aggressive, but the red is still very, very aggressive. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this, we get a brush. I could actually use this brush here with the adhesive on it. I would take this brush and clean this brush. I wouldn't use it with the adhesive on it because I don't want to contaminate this. Now what this does is this softens the decal up. And what it's going to do is it's going to, did you get on the piece there, Dave? Mm-hmm. This is going to soften this decal up. You see, this is an old crappy decal. I'm glad I'm using this for this purpose. I can take that, blot that again. But this is not the best of decals. And you've got to remember, it's on a bare plastic. It's not on painted piece. And put this on. Now again, go watch Jeopardy or make a sandwich or go play with the kids or whatever. You got to let this set a little bit. And again, this is now going to dry to the look. And a lot of times when you put this on, the decal may crinkle on you. But I notice if I blot properly, that I will really reduce the crinkle of the decal. And now, just for show purposes, let's say this is set up hardcore. It's, again, dry to the look. The decal is not cured. It has not cured. You take your more aggressive setting solution and you only go, see, I need to build my, you take this, because it's so aggressive, especially with modern decals, the new age of the new technology of decals, I do not cover the entire decal. I'm only going over where the recess is and the actuator arm is. I don't want it to cook the whole decal. And that's it, gang. You follow these steps and you will have absolutely, absolutely gorgeous decals. And in 2 seconds, I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. All right, here's a great example of a properly applied decal. You can see it almost has a painted on appearance. And that is because of this new technique I have come up with. You also notice, let's get in, I'll hold this and get my little, you notice the aileron runs right through there. That's a big separation. That decal has gone perfectly down there. There's the actuator tab right there, perfectly over that. There's another seam that comes down the front here. It's just dropped itself right inside of that. And this decal here has a painted on appearance. Now I'm going to come over here and switch to the side and show you this piece here. Now here is an access door. I believe this is your radio compartment access door. There's lots of bumps and lots of things. When I put this particular decal on, this decal shattered all around this area. It just broke off in pieces. Now, this is not a bad thing. If you're doing a weathered aircraft or a beat up piece of equipment, your decal breaking is not a disaster. Everybody gets all freaked out. And, oh, my decal's wrecked. No, you don't. During times of extreme combat and extreme use, the ground crew doesn't have time to go make everything pretty. So if they find, even if it's the same color paint, you don't know what this aircraft has done. This aircraft could be sitting on a coral runway with the sun beating it all day long. It would change the color. So as the ground crew comes out with that same color that they painted this originally in, they'd use that color. It might be off, and that's exactly what I did to fix this decal. I went in with a, honest to God, straight out flat red and touched in the spaces. I don't mind if it's blotchy. It looks like the marking has been repaired. And one thing that you want to do in Pacific climates is you'll want to keep everything painted because of corrosion. It's full of salt. You're on these little tiny atolls, and so that's the idea behind decals, guys. You want to get it tight, get it down, and if it breaks, don't freak out. It's not a problem. Just touch it up. Go in and touch the piece up. And Dave, you can, if you want to go to the tail or something like that, get a shot of the tail. Tell me when you got that. And that really is pretty much it, folks, for the decal segment. Oh, one thing I want to add about decals that I forgot to add. Let me put this down. I have seen several instructional pieces, several things written and several things on film. They all tell you after you take your decal and dip your decal into your water, come out, put it on a paper towel or some other absorbent surface. Now think about this, gang. You've got all the adhesive under the decal. The whole entire decal is soaking wet. The bottom's wet, the top is wet. You put it on this, the adhesive will come out of the decal. There's no two ways about it. It will come out. You put it on a piece of paper towel, what are you doing? You are taking the adhesive and wicking the adhesive out from under your decal. You wick away too much adhesive, you got silvering. There's nothing there for it to stick to, especially if you're doing tiny work like, let's go back to the Frank. We'll go back to this Frank. And come over here, Dave, and come down to this yellow piece right there. And tell me when you got that.
Beautiful.
Got that little piece? That's a little tiny decal. Now, anybody that's decaled a lot knows that when you have little tiny decals, there's only a little tiny bit of adhesive there. And who silvers first? The little pieces, not the big chunks, the little pieces, because there's so little adhesive. That's why you stay in your cook pool. That is why you blot instead of putting on a piece of paper and let it wick the moisture away. Ooh, 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 ooh. I'd like to knock people in the head for that. That is just it's leading to disaster is what it's doing. It's leading to problems. I'm not going to say because you put it on a paper towel you're constantly going to have problems, but why increase why increase that? I'm not sure what I'm looking for words, but why take that chance? Why walk that line and take that chance? So, once the decals are on, what are we going to do? And that's where we're going to go next. Okay, now that once your decal is on, it's dried, and that's probably going to be a couple days. You really want your decals to cure up. Just because, it's the same with paint, folks. Just because paint is on and paint is dry and you can touch the paint, that doesn't necessarily mean it's cured. It's the same with a decal. It doesn't necessarily mean your decal is completely dry. So give it a couple of days in a good dry environment. You wouldn't want to leave this next to an open window if it was raining. That would be detrimental. So it's on, it's down. Now this is something that I have seen millions and millions of people do. Everybody does it. It's just an accepted standard because you don't think about it. You've taken the aircraft and you've enhanced the aircraft, or you've enhanced the piece of armor. Car guys, different story. Totally, you're walking a whole different line. Car guys, you're bright, shiny, clean finish unless you're doing something beat up and rusted. But you know, a typical car job. This does not apply. This don't. Car guys, forget this. Train guys, pay attention. Military people, pay attention. The decal is on. Dave, go to this wing, come to the opposite side wing, and then just get in tight and pan around that wing. And I don't know if you can see the shading in there or not. Is that filming? The difference in color in that wing?
Yes.
It is. Come back now over to the other wing and pan around this area right up in here.
Good.
Now what the deal is the wing on that side is enhanced with filters and washes and stains. This side is not. you've done your initial staining and enhancement on the piece itself. Then they take the decal, they gloss the surface up, they put the decal on, and they never touch the decal. Well, how come the plane is beat to crap and the decal is brand spanking new? Every single marking on the aircraft is brand spanking new? That's not going to happen. So now you need to go in and enhance the decal. And how do we do that? Now you notice also, take a look at the box, just the box itself. Notice I've got a couple pieces of soft cloth here. That's protecting the bottom of my aircraft. I've also cut a slot so the surface can just kind of hang in the wind there and not really touch anything. But for right now, we want to take this and we want to go in and enhance on this. Okay, we just had a phone call, so I'll deal with that, folks. Listen, like I said, decals on, decals down, whole aircraft is enhanced. Why didn't they enhance their decals? I've seen it done so many times. Planes beat to death, brand spanking shiny new decal. So what are we going to do? We will start out with an oil. I love my oil paints. And again, onto a non-absorbent surface. I happen to use tons of stickers, so I always have like bumper sticker paper here. And we just put out a little dab will do you. Now what I'm using here is I'm using raw umber. Raw umber artist oil paint. The reason I'm using the umber is it in the earth tones of the aircraft. Plus the umber is a universal staining color anyhow. Everything that I do, all those dioramas that I showed you at the beginning of this segment and things, they are all washed and enhanced with raw umber. It's a universal toning color. So here's what we're going to do. Now this is not washing, folks. This is called filtering. This is a painstakingly long process. But we'll start out in the wing. And we'll start on the decal because we are talking about decals. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attempt to open this. You can see I put things on fairly tight. Now this is a low odor thinner. The reason I'm using a low odor thinner instead of cutting my oil paint with a turpenoid is because turpenoid is so aggressive. You don't need that on this. Even though I have now taken my aircraft, oh, that's something I forgot to mention. Once the decal is on and dried, you want to get some bite, some tooth on top of the decal, so therefore I have taken a lacquer dull coat and I have sprayed the entire aircraft with a lacquer dull coat. Now why did I do that? If I still had the gloss on here from the decal, there's no tooth in the gloss. The gloss is very, very smooth. The lacquer dull coat, again, like a flat paint, creates little tiny pits, and it allows the agent that you're going to put on to someplace to grab. Whereas if it's on a shiny surface, like on a mirror, think about it. You put something on a mirror, it's so smooth it comes right off. So there's no tooth. You need some tooth with some dull coat, and that's exactly what I've done here. Now, thinking about that, I'm going to get off on a little tangent here. Thinking about that, there's two types of dull coats. There's acrylic dull coats and there's lacquer dull coats. Here's my thinking on this. Why do I want to take a water slide product and put it on top of an acrylic dull coat? Water-based product. Doesn't make any sense to me. What if that decal sits on there, reactivates it, and you get a milky surface? I've had a lot of guys talk about that. Geez, I put my decals on, and because I use an acrylic, I get all this milky stuff around it. Well, that's all well and good. But now it's going to take 4 or 5 days for that milkiness to go away. Why should you have that? There's no need for that. Use a lacquer. It's hard. There's nothing that can regenerate anything. So I don't know why people do this, but they do. And I've been yelled at for, oh, you know what you're talking about. Also, Future. These people that use Future, I don't get it. It's a water-based product. Why am I putting a water slide decal on top of a water-based product? So it's just a school of thought. Okay, come on down here, Dave.
Okay, get that bottle out of the way.
Get the bottle out of the way?
Yep. All right. Then.
Yeah, righty. Now I'm into my oil paint. I'm going to pick up a little bit of it and come over here and work that. Add some more thinner. Now what I'm looking for, and I'm probably going to change locations Yep, what I'm looking for. Just keep following me down as I go down the paper. See how it's getting less and less color? And that's about what I am looking for right there. Notice the tone difference from my source to here to there to there. That's about where I want to be. Now, I'm going to come up from that, because this show is pretty much primarily about painting, enhancing, and finishing, not so much building. Now, I want a good dark line that accents the separation there between the aileron and the wing itself. So I go to the corner. I wish I could tip this. Can you get kind of that?
Now I've got it.
Now you got it? Okay. This should be laying flat, but I'm going to go in and I'm just going to touch. Now capillary should pull this throughout the piece. And I'm noticing now I need to go back into that little bit darker pool and get this.
Okay,
Also,
we're getting some focusing problems here. Could you pull the plane off the box, please?
take it off the box?
Yeah.
Just put it down?
Just put it down, yeah.
All right.
Try that again.
Like this?
Okay, yeah, that's much better.
Is that better?
Yeah, just do what you did before.
All right. And let's get something under here to hold this in place. One thing you don't want this to move. And I was having trouble with my hand, so I'll show you another trick. I'm going to go into this dark area here. Pick this up, and because my hand was wiggling around a little bit, make a fist. Put your hand on top of your fist. Go in. See how much more control I have? And touch. Exciting TV.
This is very compelling.
Yes. Exciting TV. Like I said, this is just a long process. Oh, oh boy, that came out good. Okay, now I'll tip this up a little bit. See how I've got this dark line around there? And then as you come out to the wingtip, there's a little staining there. That's all well and good. You want that. That's very nice. Now we'll continue back onto the piece. Now this has got a long rivet line here on the wingtip. I want those rivets to come up and pop. So I'll do the exact same thing. I should probably go to a smaller brush. But I'm touching each of these rivet tips, and it's also drawing through the engraved line. And it does look like a mess, because it is. Also around that outer formation light, that navigation light, again, put a little stain around that. Now here's the deal with this. I'm going to constantly keep my brush clean, and I might even do this. I might even change brushes. And this should sit for like maybe 10-15 minutes. What you want the oil to do is you want the oil to go in and stain the dull coat. You don't want to change the color of your base, of the base color I put on the piece. You just want to stain it. That's where we'll talk a little bit about that too. That's where sometimes the weathering powders and dry brushing comes in. If you're dry brushing with an enamel, well, enamel has no transparency to it. Your weathering powders cannot have a transparency to it. So now you've not maintained the base color of your piece. You've actually changed the color. I used to work that way all the time. I no longer do that. I now want tonal differences, not color differences. Does that make sense? That makes sense? You want to tone it, not color it. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go in. I've got a fairly dry brush. Let me get this out of the way. And Dave, I'll get right tight right down in this area here, because this is critical. Again, I'm just going to go in and slowly pick that up. You notice what I did? I picked a little bit up. I went to a rag, pulled the color off, get it out, get rid of it. Again, going down. And you can see, gang, that it's a tedious process. But I no longer care if it takes me 2 hours to do this wingtip. I don't care because of the results I'm getting. Also notice, once I've picked up a considerable amount, I start using that again to my advantage. It's not a disadvantage. Use it to an advantage. I'm toning my base. So as I'm picking up, I'm getting rid of that excess dark, but I'm also pulling it out onto the wingtip. Let's see if I can do it this way so you can actually film that brush actually doing that.
Okay, stand by. And
Tell me, you got it?
got it right now.
Okay, now you can see that's all toned in there dark. So I go in and I pick it up, and again, I pull it off the brush. I know people that do this and take this brush once it's picked up, put it down, grab another brush. Let's close this up too, because this stuff evaporates. I've seen guys use 20, 30 brushes in a shot. That's the way they do it. I've kind of refined my technique though. Let's go back over the wingtip. And again, just picking this up. And anything that's left over, I pull out. Now also notice the way I'm stroking. I'm doing it to the airflow. As this plane moves, that's what happened. Liquid would come out. Anything that was there, if it was a little bit of moisture in the wingtip as they're flying, boom, 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 get the airflow. So that direction there. And I pull it back, clean the brush, and go back in. Now also notice, I don't know if you can get this either. Also notice, now that I've done this nav light, there's an engraved seam right around the wingtip. Let's pick that up. That's just beautiful. That's just beautiful. Anything that you can take with a detail. We're going to talk about that next too. Is the detail of a kit. And again, I keep pulling this down and pulling this down and pulling this down. If it starts to dry, go to a wetter area, pick that up a little bit, and you can regenerate what has just dried. I may even want to go in with a little bit of the clean, touch it. You don't want it loaded, and go in and reactivate. It also thins what I just put on. So therefore that thinning of that heavier filter adds to the toning, adds to the variations in the tone. You can see I'm actually taking this and painting this wingtip with it. Now I had to turn on a light, folks. This may not film really well, but I couldn't see it well enough to show you this. But I've pretty much picked up everything that I've put on, and it's heightened the rivet heads, it's heightened the engraved line, it's heightened the outside, it's given me a tone around my nav light, but I've got the other panels beside it. I do have the separation of the white. So now, just to keep everything tonal, you notice there's hardly, virtually any color here other than what I'm pulling out. I will take and finish the panel beside it. And that's good enough. That's good enough. Now you can see this entire wingtip has been touched with a little tonal difference. And you can see it. I guess, Dave, come on over here and get right onto the paint, like right around in this area. That's my base color enhanced only with paints, doing the airbrush, come on back over here, and then I maybe widen the shot so you get both sides. Can you tell me when you got both sides, Dave?
Got it.
You can see the tonal difference, folks, between this and this. It is the same color, but because I've used an oil paint, it's transparent. I can look through and now maintain the base color, which is what you want. Why did you paint the damn piece this color if you're going to go in with other colors like enamels and weathering powders and change the color? That doesn't make any sense. So that's the deal on that, folks. That's the deal. Okay, now I can't do this. We can't do this on camera, but let me just talk about it. I have taken to using watercolor pencils. What the deal is with this is you draw on your piece of paper, you take a brush, you wet it, and you can use it like a watercolor. But I've incorporated it into my decaling. Now what I would do is, because it's red, I'm going to use, this is called dark ochre. So it really probably is in this this umber and ochre family, which is good. Now what I would do is, because I've used the low odor thinner, when that evaporates, it leaves a film, which is good. Also, oh, something else I forgot to mention, folks. Once you get your decal on and get your decal dry, take a damp cloth and wipe the decal down. You do not want any of that adhesive out on your piece. That down the road will start to yellow on you, or what may happen also if you do not wipe the adhesive off the decal once it's down and dried, completely dried, it may, as you hit it with a dull coat, start to yellow up on you a little bit. So that's something else you want to avoid. I should have mentioned that a long time ago. That's another thing a lot of people do not do. You go to a contest, you're looking at the decal and you think, geez, there's something a little messy about that decal. So that's it. But we're gonna go in with the colored pencils, and I would enhance, and because it has that low odor thinner on it, the low odor thinner activates the watercolor tendency of the pencil, but not like water where it would spread. It just tones out so nice and so easy. So that's it, gang. That's it for right now. We're going to go and talk about quality of piece next. And hopefully you have learned something again with me, your instructor, Bill Grigg, right here on Simple Groundwork and Diorama Techniques. And we'll see you again.